Structure. As explored earlier, students must realize that there are various genres, each with its own specific structure. For young students, though, this realization takes time, modeling and explicit instruction. For example, while most teachers expect children to begin school with some awareness of narrative or story structure, as a result of being read to and seeing hundreds of stories on television and in movies, many primary grade youngsters have only a partially developed sense of story. Teaching students about narrative structure using story frames can directly improve their reading comprehension as well as their writing ability. Spiegel and Fitzgerald, 1986. Story frames are structure templates that can be used orally to help students understand story structure. 1. Read students a well-formed setting, main characters, problem, solution and ending, using inquiry to help students discover the elements on their own. 2. Write a story with students using the board. Provide the structure for them, but have them fill in the blanks with what they remember from the story, using a story frame. 3. When they complete, read it to students and ask for volunteers to read sentences. 4. Give the students a blank story frame and invite them to write their personal story. Structure. A basic story frame, also called story grammars, are structured templates that can be used orally as early as pre-kindergarten to help students understand story structure. Use the following steps to encourage story and improve comprehension through the use of the prepared structure. 1. Read students a well-formed story, either pointing out the elements that are usually found in a story, i.e., setting, main characters, problem, solution and ending, or as in genre study, using inquiry to help students discover the elements on their own. 2. Write a story with the students, using the board. Provide the structure for them, but have them fill in the blanks with what they remember from the story, using a story frame as the one illustrated in Figure 9.9. 3. When the story is complete, read it to the students and then ask for volunteers to read sentences. 4. Give the students a blank story frame and invite them to write their own original stories. You may want to brainstorm with the whole class to help get them started and then do an original story as a class. See Figure 9.10. A simple literacy scaffold. Literacy scaffold is for struggling writers, especially for whom English is a second language. A simple literacy scaffold. 1. Have the students listen to "These are a few of my favorite things from The Sound of Music." 2. Have them recall the singer's favorite things as they are listed on the board. 3. Invite them to brainstorm their favorite things, and add them to the list. 4. For each of the favorite things, ask the students if they can think of a downside to it. For example, gentle rain is nice, but thunderstorms can be scary. 5. Provide each student with a photocopied sheet containing the following scaffold. I like ice cream. But I don't like to eat ice cream in the winter time. 6. As a class, write a group piece that includes a response from each child. Read the group effort chorally. 7. Have the students write their own "I like" piece. Imagine what happened. Select a picture book such as The King, the Cheese, and the Mice, 1965, by Nancy and Eric Gurney. Read the story aloud and stop at the most exciting point. Ask students to predict what might happen next, using a predictive web such as the one shown in Figure 9.11 to predict the story's ending. Invite students to use one of the brainstormed ideas on one of their own and write their version of ending of the story. Allow students to read or tell about their original endings. Finally, read the author's ending and compare it with the students' predictions. Which-based experience approaches. Students can be highly motivated to write when they are allowed to choose. 1. The structure or genre in which they will write and the content. 2. That they will write about. One way to accommodate those choices is to create a class newspaper. The newspaper can be created in hard copy or online, or both, then shared with parents, the school, and community members. The teachers can teach many lessons on the major structures found in newspaper editorials, book reviews, reports of local news, cartoons, and human interest stories. Wetzel, Peterson, Weber, and Steinbach, 2013. The language experience approaches. Lee uses students' own language as writing materials. Content is determined by their own experiences. They easily remember the text. They are eager to read them. Using their own experimental. Spelling is crucial to their development as a writer. They listen as you read the story and they read it themselves. What they experience can be talked about. What they talked about can be written down. What they write can be read. In the Lee language experience, compositions can be composed of using chart and chart paper or an interactive whiteboard by groups of students or individuals, and they are ideal for English learners because of the many senses used simultaneously. The format is the same in either case and includes the following steps. Cecil, 1994b. 1. Provide a stimulus for discussion and writing. 2. Conduct an oral discussion about the stimulus. 3. Brainstorm about the stimulus, creating a word bank. 4. Help students compose the passage. 5. Read the passage aloud, reread several times. Lee. 6. Recruit students to read individual sentence. 7. Have the students name the passage. 8. Conduct a mini lesson. 9. Duplicate the passage whether in print or digital form and have students provide their own illustration and reread the passage at home. Provide a stimulus for discussion and writing. The stimulus for writing or discussion is usually a concrete object or a current event, but it can encompass anything that all members of the group have recently experienced. The objects or experience has been witnessed by all students. A language experience story could be written about a snowman, seasonal thunderstorm, a television program that everyone happened to see, a story the class just enjoy listening to, chocolate pudding that all have enjoyed eating, or a garter snake brought in by one of the class members. The most important criterion is that the subject has captured the interest of the students, and they would now like to talk, write, and read about it. Oral discussion is a natural bridge between the sensory stimulus and reading and writing about it. Encourage the sharing of thoughts and ideas about it. Your role is a facilitator who positively and non-judgmentally respond to comment and paraphrase what may be unclear. Brainstorm about stimulus. This step gives students the opportunity to think critically and creatively about the stimulus and provides words and phrases for the word bank that will be helpful in writing the passage. Guide the students into categorizing the responses. If, for example, the class were writing a language experience story about a garter snake that a student has brought to class, the brainstorming might proceed as follows. Association. What kind of things do you think of when you think about? What? Action. What do snake do? Reaction. How do snakes make you feel? Similarities. What are some other things that are kind of like snake? How? Difference. What re some things that are very different from snake? How? Phonological awareness element. What are some words that rhyme with snake? Students compose the passage. Referring to the words on the board, ask students write a passage about the stimulus. Ask for a beginning for the piece and solicit suggestions and continue until students run out of ideas. Request an ending and invite students to illustrate the piece. During the dictation phase, accept the student's idea verbatim. However, if students offer an unclear sentence or incorrect grammar, paraphrase the sentence correctly, keeping the meaning intact by asking a question such as "Do you mean?" This approach, diplomatically employed, can assist an English learner's transition to standard English in a positive way. Passage aloud. Follow the dictation with several reading of the passage, each reading in a different manner. First, read the passage aloud to the students while they follow along, phrase, to avoid stilted words by word reading. You may then echo read, or have students repeat every line after you model it. Then, point at each word and deliberately the left to the right progression, and the return sweep to the next line while students read passage chorally. English learners and less able readers are thereby participating in the reading experience by being fed the words they hear around them. Students to read individual sentence. Many English learners find writing too difficult to learn for three important reasons. First of all, English grammar is quite complicated, although it has some grammatical rules to be followed. Second, English vocabulary is also difficult for learners. The learners need to have knowledge of part of speech of every word, its collocation and connotation. Third, cohesion and coherence also make learning difficult. The learners need to understand how the content of the text is organized among the three different types of ordering, such as chronological ordering, spatial ordering, and logical ordering. Recruit students to read individual sentence. Recruit students to read each individual sentence when they have read the entire story by focusing students' attention on the sentence unit as part of passage. Reinforcement is being provided for high-frequency words as well as new ones. Students name the passage. To be a good writer of English, the learners have to know about grammar, know a lot of words, be able to spell well, have reasonable handwriting, understand about layout, know when to use capital letters, be able to put ideas in order, think logically, think creatively, be accurate, know how to link sentences together to make a paragraph. Know that written English is very different from spoken English. Be a good native language writer. Determining the main idea of a paragraph is the most skill. Daily practice in selecting the titles for language experience passages. Students can grasp idea on one general thought and conveys the central idea in the passage. For example, you may want the students to see, through another rereading, Why the Snake is a more appropriate title for the second grader's story than Our Pet, which was also offered. Illustration and details in a story to describe its characters, setting or events. Describing relationship between illustration and text is an important. Conduct the discussion which led in conjunction with read aloud and study of grade appropriate trade book that clearly show the relationship between illustration and text. For example, narrative anchor texts that include illustrations about the story elements, setting, characters, problem and solution are useful to read aloud to the students. Students can start to apply that knowledge to decision about what to illustrate in their language experience passage. With your help, the students can identify the elements of their language experience passage that should be illustrated. Students write with space for a personal illustration to have space and read at home. Review the passages with students to reinforce phonics elements, high-frequency words, and new vocabulary. Students will be proud and eager to read their books to other classes or to create recorder read-along. And students who are English learners. 1. Teach genre wiring as a process. 2. Build on students' background of knowledge. 3. Model writing for and with students. 4. Develop their academic oral language. 5. Teach vocabulary and grammar explicitly and in context. 6. Publish and celebrate writing using technology. On the Basic Lead, Salinger, 1993. Morning message. Each day write a brief morning message about the day's weather and upcoming events and record it on a chart or using presentation software. Digital morning message, using creative software, brainstorming, illustrating, and drafting.